In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to get started with Git and GitHub and creating your first repository in GitHub. All right, so let's just talk for a second about what Git is and what GitHub is. Git is a version control system. It's great for tracking changes to your projects, your coding projects. It was created in 2005. It's open source and it is free for anyone to use. GitHub is a web-based platform that provides hosting for your Git projects. So GitHub allows you to store your projects in what are called repositories. And so as where Git is great for version control, GitHub allows you to do that, but on a remote location. And since it's a remote location that others can visit, it's great for sharing your projects and great for collaborating with others. And in future videos, I'll actually show you how you can pull down other people's projects and or add a collaborator to yours, and you can each push and pull the code that you are maintaining. All right, so let's go about creating your first repository. So the first thing you have to do is install Git. And the command for that, obviously I'm doing this on a Mac OS. The process should be pretty similar on a PC, but I'm going to open up my terminal window and you're going to put in brew install Git, run that. It may take a moment to install the files. If you get an error that says brew command not found, you're going to want to copy and paste this line of code into terminal and let it install Homebrew for you, and then go back and do this line again. I will make sure to share all these command prompts with you in the description. All right, so next step is you're going to go to GitHub and create an account. It'll look like this. You'll just click on the sign up. It's pretty straightforward and free for you to create an account. Once you have that created, at the top of your screen, you'll probably see this little plus sign in the top right hand corner of the screen. Click on that, you get a drop down. You're going to click on new repository, and that will take you to a screen that looks like this. And you're going to have to, the important thing here is to give your repository a name. Just give it any name you like that makes sense for you, and then you can decide whether to keep it public or private. One thing to note, if you do want to keep it private, you can still share it with others. I'll show you in a future video how you can add collaborators to your projects, to your repositories. Otherwise, you can probably just leave everything the defaults here and just hit create repository. All right, so your repository is created. There's nothing in it as of yet, and so we'll go back into terminal on your Mac, and I'll show you how we can add files to that. So getting started, you're going to want to run these two commands one at a time. The first one allows you to add your username to Git. So this is your GitHub username you'll put in here, and you run this command. The next one is adding your GitHub, the email associated with your account, and press enter, and that's added. I do want to note here that if you have multiple accounts, that's okay. You can always override this. One thing I'll show you is that if you have a project that you specifically want to use a different Git account for, you can run these commands, and you'll notice that this looks very similar to the one on the page before, but it's missing the global modifier. And so this is a local to the project. So in terminal, you would have to go to the project that you're working on, that you want to use these credentials for, and then run these commands. And these local settings will override any global settings you have for that specific project. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, and then so I'm doing this in Visual Studio Code. I recommend you do as well. It's an easy thing to just Google and download and install. I've had previous videos where I go over that if you want to check them out. Anyway, you're going to search for, in the Visual Studio Code extensions tab, you're going to search for GitHub pull request. It should look like this, the icon, and go ahead and hit install. It installs fairly quick, and Then I'm going to ask that you navigate. So if you have a project already, you can navigate to that project and make sure you have the terminal window open. And then if you have to, you can cd, change the directory to get into. So this one here, my name of my folder for my project is neural nets. So I made sure that I got into that in terminal. See, it says neural nets down here. So you would have to do the same thing. And if you need to create a new project, that's fine too. But just make sure that this matches the folder that you're in. And then, so the rest of the commands I'm going to show you on the following slides, I'm putting in right here in my terminal window in Visual Studio Code. Okay. So we're going to go and initialize Git by putting Git init. And this is a command that you only have to run once for each project. And then the next command is git add and a little period there, a space and then a period. And that basically adds the files and all subfolders that are in that current directory that you're in to what Git refers to as the staging area. If you had already submitted files and this was like an update, it would take care of actually realizing that files had been modified and take that into account and send them up as new files, right? To replace the other ones. All right, so the next step is git commit -m, and then what in quotes here, you can put in whatever you want as a note about what you're committing. And so this command saves the changes that we staged in the last command with the git add. And actually, for your local version of Git, your repository is now up to date with the files that you staged and committed. Okay, but they're not on GitHub yet, and so that's the next thing we need to do is go ahead and open your browser, go back to GitHub, click on the link for the repository that you created, and somewhere on that page, around the middle of the page, there's going to be an area that's called the quick setup. And you'll notice a link here. That link is something you're going to copy and then go back into Visual Studio Code in the terminal, and you're going to put git remote add origin and put in that URL and run that. And then you're going to do push, the push command. And this is really the last one you have to do. This will push the files to the URL that repository on GitHub. And so you just put in this command here, and your files will be there. But let me say something though. At some point on one of these two commands, you'll get a pop-up in Visual Studio Code just asking you to authorize GitHub to work with Visual Studio Code. And so you'll hit allow, and then you'll probably get to a screen that looks like this, and it says authorize. Just click on that green authorize button. You may be prompted to put in your password, but if you're already logged in the browser, it shouldn't. I think you shouldn't be. And then you're good. Then, like, after running this push command, you'll be able to go to your GitHub repository, and you'll see files there, and it'll have that note that we put in with each file. And so that's it. That's how you add your first repository. So in future videos, I'll show you how you can do other commands like pull commands and collaborate with other people in projects. But I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.